All right, Oscar. Welcome on the podcast,
Man,
man.
thank you for having me, man. I'm super pumped.
Yeah. Episode 8, CEO Under 30. For those who don't know Oscar, he's the owner of Uprise LLC, working on what, your 31st flip
Yeah,
right now?
about
So
31st. Yeah.
fix and flips houses. Really cool guy. I'm excited to learn from you, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on the
Yeah,
podcast.
man. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to get to know you as well.
Yeah. So take me back, man, to where it all started before you actually started your company. Like what were you doing? How did you get into it?
Yeah, well, yeah, so I mean, I kind of had some early on pressure like that I always knew I wanted to own my own business. And I tell people it's funny because I've actually not done well for like employed jobs. I actually was like, even though I did great in them and like got manager positions quickly, I did get fired from like a lot of
Wow.
jobs. Just because like, yeah, one thing I struggled with was just like just being young and not being all the way there, but I still knew I had that mentality, so it was kind of tough for me to listen a lot when I was younger. And then basketball kind of drove me to be like on my first team. Then I went on to my first college team. And then the first thing I did with my, like when it came into career, was I became a police officer. So I ended up working for Commerce City PD. And that's kind of like, I'd say, my first big experience that really helped me to then entrepreneurship. Because yeah, I became a cop super early on, and like for some reason the craziest things hit me when I was a police officer. Like my third day, I dealt with a situation that, let's say from like 1 to 10, there's like a scale of what's the worst thing that a cop can deal with to normal. Number 10 hit me on my third day, so that was like a super unique situation. Ended up on the news and everything.
Wow. Can you talk about it or?
I can. So I wasn't involved in a officer involved shooting.
Wow.
And now it's like the my FTO at the time, my trainer, he's like my older brother. But I remember that that was kind of my first, one of my first significant things that have happened in my life where like, I it was kind of like the movies. And but I tell people, people kind of gave me a lot of praise for like that I was able to, pull the trigger and deal with that
Mm.
situation at like young and on my third day. Like I swear I wrote like two parking tickets and then it was like a shooting.
Wow.
So no in between. And but I tell people that it's actually better that it happened early on because it was like I was like expecting the worst already. And
Yeah.
then you kind of come complacent through the years that like, oh, that's not gonna happen because you pull out your gun so many times and then barely ever shoot.
Yeah.
So then yeah, so when I pulled it out, it actually went down that time.
Wow.
So that was a big situation for me. And then kind of made my police career a little bit different than I'd say normal.
Yeah.
But one thing is like I tell it it's kind of crazy because I feel like one thing people don't talk about like in entrepreneurship is I think that owning a business is like a direct reflection of who you are personally. And I
Mm.
know that now from my mistakes, and I literally do it all from my experiences. Like everything I've experienced as a police officer affects what I think of, like, I've had to deal with. I always think it's like you're like a top tier counselor in the streets.
Yeah.
It's like you're dealing with people that are dealing with the worst situation ever and you have to talk to them. But even like with my own police officers and stuff like that, I had to like meet all different kind of officers, some that had way different personalities, different beliefs, and different, just approach things differently than me and stuff. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so I fell in love with that. I got to make SWAT towards
Wow.
my end of the cop career.
Which that's like a pretty quick timeline, right? Because
Yeah.
most people probably take some years and years and years on end to
Yeah.
actually get that accomplishment. So you kind of fast tracked.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think that having that experience on the third day really just showed people that, like, hey, Oscar, like, he can handle the pressure, like he can do what needs to get done
Yeah.
when it's necessary?
100%. I think that's a bit, I think me and my friend were like the two youngest guys to ever make SWAT.
Wow.
And I didn't get to be on the team very long because I was out of law enforcement quickly after that.
Mm.
But yeah, to get on, I think that that situation really helped me out because no matter what, if like you're good at talking to people, you're not, or because I think people skills is like the number one thing that makes a good officer versus someone that maybe shouldn't be in it or
Yeah.
whatever. I think that that's what matters is like that situation. Like whether you can talk, not, it's like can you protect yourself and can you protect other officers around you? So I think that once you kind of prove that to the department, it's kind of like respect kind of goes up from there,
Yeah.
Because yeah, you've seen. I'm sure, have you ever seen those videos where like maybe an officer didn't deal with the situation?
All the time.
Yeah,
Well, and you guys are under the spotlight too. Like
yeah,
that's one thing where I see these videos and I'm like, people are just waiting. Like waiting for you to make one
yeah,
mistake,
yeah,
say one wrong thing. Like
yeah,
it's a hard job, especially,
yeah,
in the last couple of years.
yeah.
I feel like it's been a really hard job. So
It's
much
getting
respect for
crazy.
that, man.
No,
Yeah.
thank you, man. Yeah, it's getting crazy. I tell people those situations, I feel for them sometimes because, people are kind of judging, what they see on that body camera. And I can tell you right now that the feeling that you're going through is like not what you see on that body camera at all.
Yeah.
You'll have anxiety,
Yeah.
it doesn't show that you're just a normal human too and dealing with that certain situation. That's why law enforcement's changed dramatically though, and that's like one thing that makes me like just like people always ask me like like I miss a lot of the people. I met some of the best people I've ever been able to be around through there, like some of the best detectives I've ever met. Super close, like my best friend still, like the SWAT guys and my FTO then. But yeah, it's changed so much that now it's like, you know, I don't know how to say this right, but they are letting a lot of people get into law
Mm-hmm.
enforcement now
Mm-hmm.
because they're so short. A lot of people are leaving it, like I'm sure so it's tough that like now you're getting a lot of people that are dealing with those high intent, like those crazy situations just not the way they should. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's becoming more and more popular to see the bad stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, it's really cool that you had that experience
Yeah,
because I always think like one of the telltale signs for me of if a business owner is going to make it or if he's not is how he deals with pressure.
yeah,
And I have to deal with it all the time, and I deal with pressure really well. I
yeah,
have to because I run into things all the time where I've got to make quick decisions and I've got to pivot.
yeah,
Like, hey, this didn't work. I got to do this. And you got to think quickly. Um, and I'm sure those couple years that you were in law enforcement and really on like the fast track in law enforcement really helped you where you're at now because I'm
yeah,
sure you run into issues all the time and you got to make quick decisions and
yeah.
you got to deal with the pressure.
100%. No, yeah, I always say like those experiences, it's kind of tough because now you're meeting a lot of that experience. I'm glad that I got to experience that and then opened up my business because
Yeah.
just like you said, I think it helped out with like on the street, I got to deal with all different kind of personalities, all different kinds of people feeling a certain kind of way and stuff like that. And in my business, now it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I deal with other agents, like I deal with real estate agents that, they understand real estate and then we can kind of communicate on that. And then I go straight to dealing with my construction crews who have
Yeah.
no knowledge of real estate, but then we're just got to like pivot to like dealing with these other kinds of problems and stuff like that.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's funny. I reflect a lot on like my past experiences and past jobs, and I think about it. I'm like, damn, everything I did, every work experience I had, even personal experiences, like all prepared me for
Yeah.
this. Like if I would have started my business 4 years earlier, I wouldn't have made it because
Yeah.
I didn't have the life experiences and the work experiences I have now. So
Yeah.
that's cool, man.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I told you over the phone. You know how we were like talking, and I was like, that's what I think made my route into like into my business a little tougher was because that's how it should go. It's like you should be like every mistake, everything that you go through, that leads you up to just being exactly where you're at now.
Yeah.
For me, it's like honestly, I always tell people that my business did get kind of brought, my best friends actually who put me onto real
Yeah.
estate flipping, and I was not in any way, shape, or form ready to take that on.
Yeah.
And like, so then I made my mistakes while I was like in the game early on.
Hmm.
And like I said, I think I told you that like, yeah, a lot of those mistakes, if I would have took the normal route of how people have to go into becoming a real estate investor, dude, I think I'd be like down like 8 foreclosure properties. So
Wow.
I think he really helped me out. I just made a lot of dumb mistakes. I was like, I got into it when I was like 24.
Yeah.
I did not have the discipline level for it. Um, it was kind of crazy because even like the waking up every morning, it was so easy knowing that like, oh hey, my sergeant on SWAT's gonna yell at me if I don't show up at 4.
Yeah.
And it was a whole different ball game when I was like, okay, no one's gonna.
You got somebody looking over your
Yeah,
shoulder
like
and making sure you're there.
it,
When you're on your own, you don't have
yeah,
anybody.
no,
Yeah.
no one's kind of like telling you anything, you know? So it's kind of a whole different thing to like get up and wake up. But what I mean, I'm sure you've kind of heard this before, but it really is one of those things where I started thinking about I was willing to work super hard and
Mhm.
give it my all and wake up at 4 for somebody else. So how in the world am I not going to do it for myself?
For
Like
sure.
when it should be the exact, you should work the hardest for yourself. So,
Mm.
yeah, so
That's a good perspective, man. I feel like a lot of people don't think of business like that. Like
yeah.
they think of, well, I got to do it for somebody else, but the second it's for themselves, they're like, "Ah, I'll be laid back about it, or I don't need
Yeah.
to be there right at this time."
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about like what made you step out of the police force? Like, had you already started flipping houses while you were
Yeah.
still employed there? Or?
So I'll be completely honest with you and transparent on this is that I actually got in trouble. And
Okay.
ending up in an IA is kind of normal
Yeah.
there, but I was like, yeah, I was just kind of going through an IA that took a long time.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing that actually got to me is like so well, now, like, if they see this, they'll know. But like, it's funny because I really felt like I was a part of a family there.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I was. And like a lot of the people there do treat me like family, and they've kind of proven that to me now with still being in my corner now. But that's kind of one of the biggest things that made me step out. Like, that made me be like, I got in this situation and when I was going through the IA process, I kind of realized that now I'm just a normal officer. All of that stuff didn't matter. Everything that
Hmm.
I did, like the medal that I received, the awards that I
Mm.
received, none of it mattered in that situation.
Mm.
You're the same as the if the worst officer in the department would have gotten in trouble.
Wow.
To me, you're the exact same.
Mm.
And it really was because I was in a position where it really is the truth that basically, if you're working with a company, this is the position you fall into is like,
Yeah.
you think and it's great that businesses like make people feel like that and they should, but you kind of put in your head like, oh, I'm this person that's irreplaceable, or
Yeah.
like this place really values me, or this place, and I was really just a number. Actually, one of the officers that passed away, that's like one of the biggest things I could
Mm.
remember. He goes, if you think you're more than just a number in this department, you're kind of out of your mind. And I really thought I was something special. So I
Yeah.
was going through that and I got in trouble and I was in that for like about 8 months.
Wow.
Like that investigation that was like getting delayed and it was getting pushed back. And I was really like then just super scared because I was kind of like, dang, I gave this everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I don't know what else I'm gonna do now. So my best friend, he actually had rental properties when we met in college.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. I know I could praise myself. He is to me the smartest guy I've ever met in my
Wow.
life. At 18, I think he already had like 10 rentals out in Pueblo. Was
Wow.
supposed to go to Harvard, use the money to pay for the rental properties instead.
Wow.
I was just blessed enough to honestly become best friends with him. So that's like the first little hint of knowing real estate is that I actually, while I was in college, before I went to Trinidad to play, we were flipping his rentals just good enough that people can live in it,
Yeah.
not like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So when he kind of saw that I was in this situation, he had actually left law enforcement as well because he was like, "Why am I doing this when I can just attack real estate?" And he already had like 20 rentals, so he
Wow.
sold everything, became a hard money lender, and then that's how he kind of put me on. He had a few properties left and he was like, you should try this out. And like, it was funny because the little bit of construction knowledge I had was like literally painting. We put up cabinets, nothing more than that. So when I went into this, I like did my first flip and I like started it for a couple weeks and I was just like, I am moving super slow. I think that was not my strong suit. But it's actually funny because my family thought about it and Spanish is my first language. So
Oh.
being bilingual really helped me out, even in the police world too. But to
Yeah.
this world, it helped me out because I was able to find this guy that, he didn't speak any English, but he was like actually just kind of got over here. And he was like, hey, I need some work and stuff like that. Ended up being one of the best construction people I've ever met. So
Cool.
then he ended up flipping that one. It's funny because in 2 weeks, he finished the whole property in a month.
Wow.
And in 2 weeks, I literally had like demoed. So he just killed it. And quick turnaround. We put it on the market, and yeah, like the income was like a good part of it too. Like I was kind of in shock that, to be honest, like it this month of work and month on the market ended up kind of matching my yearly income as a
Wow.
police officer. So that was kind of a surreal feeling, but really it was just all eye-opening
Mhm.
to how limitless the world is. Like I really thought like I thought I was doing well for myself. Like, from my family, I'm kind of the first person that got a career like that. So I was like, this is well, this is good. Doing this just made everything seem like I was like, dude, what if I did this 12 times in the
Yeah.
year? And it just made my dreams and my ambition.
Yeah.
Now there was no ceiling to it. I went from I want to be a commander one day to, dude, I can like start schools. I could start like something. I could like start my own business of like where I bring flippers on and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Well, and that's what the world, I feel like, kind of trains you to think.
yeah,
Like your whole life leads up to this point to where, like, at least when I was growing up, I was always told, hey, you do really good in school, then you get a degree,
yeah,
then you do this, then you go work for somebody else, and you get a good, stable salary. And that's just kind of how you're trained to think. And
yeah,
so I remember a similar thing when it really clicked, and now I'm making a lot more money than I've ever made before. Really opened my eyes like, oh wow, like this is it's possible.
yeah,
Because at first it like you see people doing it on Instagram and you see it on YouTube, and it just doesn't feel real. They're like, they can do it, but I don't think I can do it.
yeah,
But that's cool, man. That's cool you experienced that. So talk to me about that. So
yeah.
you, that first house, did you dive head first into it after that? Like,
Really, that's exactly how it
okay.
went. It was like, okay, so this works. And then just me being who I was, with like everything that I do, I was just like, dude, I want to take this to the max right away. So then I was like, hey, do you think I could do two properties at once? Right after my first one, I was like, can I do two at once? And that's exactly what happened. And then those ended up working out just as great. So I was like, I thought I figured out like the Matrix. I was like, dude, this is it right here. And then reality kicked in with that other one that kind of struggled on the market. That's kind of when the market took that big hit that
Mhm.
everybody knows about, that like the interest rates went up. All of a sudden, we listed this house all of my first like four flips were in the same neighborhood. And for some reason, everybody thought this one was ridiculously priced. But the other three I sold for the exact same, comp there. Like it was just right around that price. And then that's kind of when I realized that, like, okay, we got to be, um, really good. And you got it. Like, that's kind of like when it started hitting. But still, then I just like it sold. So then I just attacked the game like crazy. And I think at one point I ended up having seven under construction at one time, somewhere in Pueblo and somewhere in Denver. So I was commuting like just crazy. And that, yeah, that was probably the worst time of it, like of like this business. So I've only been in this for 3.5 years.
Wow.
So it's something still like I'm still learning a bunch, but I say like, a lot of people don't get to experience that, within a couple months of getting into, yeah, because I think I was like 5 months in.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was learning construction, real estate, and basically this whole business as I'm going. And then the reason I bring up the personal stuff of like why I think that people should like focus on that, and that's why like that's like my biggest thing of it all, was because somehow that was running itself okay. I was able to
Mhm.
keep up with the business well enough that I was just like, if I get up and work every day like hard, there was like really nothing, like, yeah, it might not, like, this day maybe it didn't get done, but there's really nothing bad that can come from that. Like, these properties are gonna get done,
Yeah.
it was really what I was doing, like, personally. Like, I was kind of like, and it was kind of taken away from the business and all of it. I didn't really realize, the level of discipline that you have to be an entrepreneur and to really have a successful business. I was showing up late.
Yeah.
I was like going out every weekend. Like, there was no reinvesting when I first started. Whatever I made was like, I was just going. Now I was going from huge paycheck to huge paycheck. And I was just like, yeah, doing about the craziest things you can ever imagine. And
Yeah.
that's like one of the biggest things that I do think that now I'm very grateful for, because um I do think those mistakes now made me exactly what I am. And I'm glad I went through them, because a lot of people like even if you start, super disciplined and super on it, those mistakes, they're gonna be very tempting to make and very I kind of feel like it all got out of the way so quickly
Yeah.
because this game was just going crazy fast, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like you almost kinda had to humble yourself a little bit when
1,000%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That was it, like, exactly. It was just humbling because it was like, and none of it came easy. I still think I worked hard, and I
yeah,
still knew that, like, I had to work the hardest, but it was just like, this last year was the first year. So, like, out of all the 30 flips I've done, the last one that I've completed is actually the first one I've ever completed on my own
wow,
with my brother. And the reason that was a huge deal is because a lot of that was my first time actually doing the work. And I was kind of like, people, I feel like, not to jump all over the place, but you brought up TikTok and Instagram.
yeah,
And like, I think that's like a good thing. Like I told you, like, I think a lot of people are chasing entrepreneurship now, but I also think it gives like a false reality to like what it takes to actually make it. And that's what I was in.
mm,
It's like, I like, didn't like I was just like all I'm doing is checking on my flip twice a week. I'm going there, paying some guys to do it and telling them, hey, just do it this way. The real part where I was just negotiating prices with the subs, and I was just like, yeah, just and making sure it gets done. And I was thinking I was working really hard. And then I was like, oh, the money's coming. And then it was like, then that upper, like that next level came where like now anybody that just thinks like that game works like that, they leave real estate investing and they
yeah,
come up with every excuse you can think of. They're like, oh, the market's just not great right now. It's not the time to flip. Literally, you could flip in the worst market ever. You can do this. You just have to be so good at multiple different stuff. And I had to take that step back and be like, what am I doing?
mm,
And I realized that the biggest thing is I can't live my personal life the way I'm living it and think that my
mm,
business is going to run like this. I can't be going to vacation every other couple of months
mm,
and be running it from Mexico. And the TikToks make it seem like that. They're like, you're like got a beach in Cabo on your phone and you think it runs like that. No, 90% of the work has to be there. Like I'm now in the flips pretty much every single day. And like, yeah, that's what's making it better and taking the steps up. So yeah,
yeah,
very humbling to know like, yeah, it does not run like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, personal development is so huge with owning a
Yeah.
business. Like, I think a lot of times business owners think like, oh, my business isn't doing well because of my marketing, or my business isn't doing well because of my sales. It's like, no, that stuff's great. Your
Yeah.
business isn't doing well because you're not the person that you need to be to run the business that you want to run. And I've really been realizing that lately.
Mm.
Like, not all business problems need a business solution. Some business problems need a personal solution. You need to become a better leader. You need to become, just a better person, a
Yeah.
more disciplined individual. So it's cool you realize that, man.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. Like, I'm really on this journey to just become a better version of myself. And I know that if I become a better version of myself, if if everything went away and business goes away, um, I can do it. I can do it again.
Yeah. Like
That's
what's one thing that you can think of like that you had to work on personally, like when you were, now
yeah.
that you're running your business and
Yeah.
stuff?
When I started my first company, I'd say I averaged waking up at like 9:30. You know, I'd wake up at 9:30, then I'd kind of, lollygag, go to the gym and stuff like that. And then once I was done with all that stuff around noon, then I was like, okay, now let's work on the business and stuff like that. Um, Now there's no possible way that's even feasible. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm typically waking up at like 4:45. I'm at the gym by 5:30.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want to be done with all these things, all my personal stuff. And I do other things in the morning too. I mean, I read my Bible. I do a lot of things that help me personally. That way I can pour back into my team. And I have the time to do so. So yeah, definitely like waking up early, becoming a better leader. That's
Yeah.
something that I really wanted to focus on. And it's funny, I prayed and I told myself like, hey, I want to be a better leader this year. And it didn't snap overnight. I was just given a lot of circumstances where I had to grow.
Yeah.
It's funny how
No.
that works. Like you ask for something, and whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever it is, it never is just given to you. You're given the situations to grow in those areas. So definitely leadership and discipline are two things I really had to work on. And when I worked on those two things, my business grew.
Yeah.
It wasn't working on my sales, it wasn't working on my marketing. All that stuff was fine. It was just becoming a better individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I tell you, I find that so funny with like just like when I meet people that like definitely have the same focus, the same goals and everything, we like relate. Like literally, if you would have asked me that question, like vice versa, I probably would have answered it almost
Yeah.
exactly verbatim,
Cool.
Just, like, I mean, I don't know if this is like a topic that we dive into, but I'm huge into my, one of my biggest focuses of my personal life is the relationship that I'm building with God.
Mm,
So, I mean, the biggest thing of it is like, I talked to you about like how I spent a lot of those beginning years because, like success, I'd say, or, the business working came so quickly. I think one of the biggest things is like now wanted to find the balance of like how I can like because I felt like I now know what it feels like to just that's all I would think about is my business. And all I
mhm,
would think about is like money. And I would just think about like, oh, my life, I'll be less stressed when it's like actually bringing this. And I
mm,
think I put that in one of my videos that I said like, I kept thinking materialistic things is what's gonna fix that, or me being like not financially stressed, or like I just kept thinking that all of this is gonna go. And I don't know. For me, a big thing that like I push towards is like, my I mean, yeah, the God subject is kind of tough because some people really understand it. Because, like, I had to find that balance of like, I really know now that, you know, I put God first in my business, in my life right now, because of the fact that I know that a life without Him is it's kind of empty. And
yeah.
think people don't realize that, like, the way their vision of it and stuff like that, it actually lines up perfectly. And
Mm,
I think I'm a big believer of like what God has planned for you is just something you can't even comprehend.
yeah.
And it's just like I would think like, hey, how do I like take this ambition of like success and money, and like that's like what I think about, and that's what I'm stressed out about, and like now put this into like what my belief towards God. If you really think about it, the like what you think like that, you have that in you for a reason. Now you just have to line it up different. And now when I'm not thinking of myself anymore, I'm not thinking of I'm not comparing myself to other entrepreneurs. I just know that I have this journey that I want to be a leader and that I want to become the best that I can, all under His word.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at, and it's never gone better than than
Yeah.
being away from that. So
Yeah.
I think that's awesome that you do that as well.
Yeah. I love that, man. Um, how you talked a lot about materialistic things.
Yeah.
How would you say you define success when you started, and how do you define success now?
Yeah. Well, I think one big difference is like now I just like I tell you in a lot of the situations I like know now that like so like an example was yeah, like when I first started going into flipping, I would like take vacations like a bunch. Like it was like the most unnecessary vacations of all time. And just the way I was no personal budget because I just like literally thought like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
Flips are coming in. I
Yeah.
can go blow this. And I look back at that and I am like, oh my
I
God.
spent so much money.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. My
Yeah.
my my budgeting was like I was like looking at my transactions one day and I remember that I would like, I like told my associate like what I was spending at first, and he was like, "Oh, I think he thought of it as like, oh, you treat yourself, like, hey, like you're grinding out." And then it was like, okay, like now it's getting kind of ridiculous. It was
Yeah.
just at the beginning, it was just crazy. I just can't believe. I don't know where people like how people do it, but yeah, it was just ridiculous what I was doing. And I tell you, that got me nowhere. It's
Mm,
just basically what happened. Like none of that stuff made me like happy in the long run. I
yeah.
enjoyed it for that little stuff, and it all guided it towards stuff that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Like does nothing for you. Like one, I wasn't getting smarter. I wasn't getting more educated in my business. I was not I'm like I was because of vacation, I was also drinking and
Yeah.
eating horrifically. So I was getting in the worst shape I've ever been into. And none of that was pushing me towards that. And then it was like, oh, let me just come back and be the best real estate investor out here. And like I was not even competing. I was just in my own world at that
Mm,
point. And now it's kind of like now I just actually love what I do.
Mm,
And now it's like I don't even like it's so obviously, like the money part, it's like I do worry about like, hey, are we running the numbers good so this
of
flip does
course,
well.
yeah,
But
and you
it's
have
like
to.
that's not even the focus though. It's kind of like I like love now all I think about is just it a lot different. Like this next year I'll be starting a team and like I really want to like grow other real estate investors. I really want to be somebody that shapes it differently. Like I'm like a lot different than a lot of the people that I meet. Like I like when it comes to this, like just the way I talk, the way like everybody has their own story and I want mine. Like I meet a lot of people that are kind of like me and did a lot of the crazy stuff young and a lot of this stuff and they kind of think like, oh, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm not like I want to be that person that can just guide those kind of people and show them like, people thought that about me when I was in the police academy. When I had my hair like this, they actually were like, I had to cut my hair because it was like kind of,
Wow.
I could have put a pick in it, like it was
Yeah.
an afro, and that was like the biggest thing I got clowned on. But I know that like visually there was like a judgment.
Yeah.
I had a child really young.
Mm,
I went to go chase the hoop and dream for a little bit, and
mhm,
I just remember being looked at like oh, like just with judgment that like and like how people viewed me. And I tell you, like I think I shocked a lot of people and like just because of the fact that with that stuff, I took everything in like I was just gonna soak it in like a sponge,
mm.
and I had the level of like understanding that I was like, oh, I could pick that up.
Do you think that some of that doubt fueled you?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. It always has. Like just yeah, just being looked at like that. And that's why like now what I want to do is just people that are looked at like that. I want to like be like take that fire and like point it the right way, It's
yeah.
like let's go show them what you are. It's like I think one skill I've always had since I was like in high school at least, like I would just talk.
Mm,
I talk like a lot. Like
yeah.
I'd be the person that talks the
On
most
the
too.
basketball
Yeah, oh
court,
yeah. I'm like
yeah.
people know like I like argue like crazy at the rec center still. I like would get like I think I if I didn't lead in points, I was like leading in technicals. I'm just like a talker. I can't shut
You're
up.
leading in something.
Yeah, I'm doing something. And I was like getting ejected all the time. It was just bad. Like I would just talk. I cannot shut up. And like, but it did a lot good for me. Like my high school principal, she became like my mom, and it was just because I would talk all the time. And that was like that skill took me so far. And now I'm just a hard believer of like, now there is a balance where you have to have a lot of knowledge and be well educated.
Mm,
You can't have just this balance of just talking and not knowing pretty much anything or mastering anything. But I have met a lot of people that are super, knowledge in something and super good at something. They get it better than even I do.
mm,
But with the fact that they can't communicate with people, like I don't think people know like how damaging that is. And
mhm,
I think in business world, like in the cop world, kid you not, if you couldn't talk to people,
mhm.
you you should see how different situations
I
play out
bet.
for you. Like
Yeah.
if you're talking to a drunk guy, you'd see the guy that can't talk to people. All of a sudden, he's calling out that I'm fighting, and
Mhm.
it's because like there was no talking. Like it was like this guy was already angry and causing a scene, and now you just came and boom fight. And then the guys that could talk every single time, they're like, hey, situation's cleared. Like
Yeah.
the guy's good.
You can de-escalate things.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But even in other situations, like of just like the de-escalation, you almost have to build like a trust there. And like
Mhm,
that's like one thing that I think a lot of people that like in this business, so I'm not like on a sales. I'm not in, it's kind of tough for my business. Like in real estate investing, people always ask me why I don't do like a lot of marketing. And it's kind of different because in real estate, like in what I do, you kind of I now know that you have to go work for that property. You have to go find it. You have to go find that homeowner, and it's just different because like not a lot of people are coming to you and saying like, "Hey, I know that my property is worth like I think my property is worth 300. Could you buy it in cash for 200?"
yeah, it doesn't work like
Then
that.
like yeah, they're not really coming to you and offering you that. So but like when I talk to like a lot of homeowners and stuff like that, I think one thing is like, I don't give them without me having any sales training or without anything, I just kind of like talk like myself. And I just noticed that one thing is like whether we do business or not, like literally they like want to be my friend. Like they're like, "But okay, like I can't do your price because like I just don't agree with it or whatever." But they're like, can I grab coffee with you or something? So
Yeah.
yeah, I like just think talking's been like my thing forever.
That's cool, man. And you never know, and maybe later, like those relationships actually turn into something.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
think if you think of everything as like immediate profit, you're not gonna make any money, you know, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like that, like, they always wanna make the sale right then and there, and if they can't make the sale right then and there, then that person doesn't mean anything to them,
Yeah.
and I've always had the mentality of like, "Hey, let me just get to know somebody, be their friend, you know, and if it doesn't turn into anything right now, it's fine, you know, maybe I can help guide them or help them
Yeah.
in one way or another, but eventually, you know, that stuff can turn into like profitable, beneficial relationships. And if not, maybe you just help them out a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what one thing I tell you, since I love talking to people, I actually like if you love it, I get that some people just don't like it, you know,
Yeah.
some people, and that's I just think like if you gotta force yourself, that's how you'll kind of view it. Like, you know, like I'm not really getting anything from this person. Like I don't
Yeah.
feel like talking to them anymore. Yeah, a lot came out of just becoming friends with somebody and they'll call you down the line. You'll be the first person they think
For
about.
sure.
Some of the properties I've gotten is from people actually like just being the first person I think about, or even how I sometimes send my guys out for like because I have full-time workers for my
Mhm,
business,
mhm,
but sometimes I send them out to do other contract work. And now it's like without me even promoting that I like
mhm.
can do plumbing, electrical, or
Cool.
whatever. It's like people are just like, "Hey, can you come out
They
and do
think of
this?"
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's cool, man.
yeah, and I just love it. I love talking to people now. It's I had to balance that out a little bit because I was doing that a little too much at the beginning. But
Yeah.
yeah, now it's like I think it's getting there for sure.
So you talked about some of the personal mistakes you made in your business. Was there some professional mistakes and things that like just hurdles you had to overcome, you know,
Yeah.
when you're because 30 flips, I can't imagine all of them went 100% smoothly.
Yeah, no, they definitely did not. So I think one thing I did well right out the jump is I threw in what I had very well into the business, I think. Like, you know, like an example is like my best friend who put me on it, you know, he had such high construction knowledge. I mean,
Mhm,
he knew everything and he you know, it's like how can I do anything in this game without knowing much of it?
mm,
And I think the one thing I did is like I just said it right now is like, okay, well, people like, you know, people rock with me, like they like me.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
was like, I don't know construction, but I feel like I sure can build a great relationship. And it was funny because that first budget I had, actually, that budget that I had for that flip was only enough for me to really do it.
mm.
Like for me to do it and me be okay, you know,
Like, for
like
you to do the work.
do the work.
Yeah,
Yep, that's how much was really in that budget because it was a material and labor budget,
okay,
but like not a lot of people would have done it for those prices, you
yeah,
know. So one thing that I did, you know, is like it was very hard, but when I talked to that guy, when he looked at those prices right at the jump, he was like, "Bro, are you crazy?" You know,
yeah,
it's like I'm not gonna do it for this. But I kind of told him what I have envisioned and like that, like
mhm,
if I hit this, I had already known that if this works, we will do like two at a time, three at a
mm,
time, and I will make
mhm,
you that kind of worker. And I kind of put in now his dream for him. I was kind of like telling him, and it was like kind of selling him, but I really was just like, dude, this is
yeah,
gonna work. It was like he had no workers under him, even though he knew everything. I was like, dude, I could put you in a position where you
yeah,
can then be like a GC. I was like, you know everything. So then like two houses are only gonna get done if you can drive it. And not like no BS, it actually worked out exactly
wow,
like that. But that was the only reason he did that first flip for
mhm,
me, or he would have never done it. So that's one thing, like right out the jump, that I think I brought to the table that, you know, like I don't know real estate that well. I don't know construction that well, and I can talk, and I speak Spanish and English
yeah.
fluently. And yeah, and I was like, and I hoop. So what is that gonna do for
They come
me?
work for me.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
was like, how are we
yeah,
gonna get this done? And
yeah,
it got done. So that's what I think I had right out the jump is that no matter what, I won't sit there and just wait for somebody to come solve my problems. And that's like the biggest thing I think now. Like in my game, here's like even like a big example. People that want to get into this, it's like the biggest, hardest part of this game is finding a good property.
yeah,
It's like the lending, you can find lenders. I have a unique situation there. The construction, you can get it done. It's just now it's like how level of good, you know, and stuff like that. But the toughest part for even like a seasoned real estate investor to beginning is like a good flip. Like if you
mhm,
buy a bad flip from the start, you're basically screwed.
yeah,
Like that's like the biggest mistake you can make there. And one thing that I'm even doing now to the very beginning to where I am now is, you know, like have you've I'm sure you've heard of wholesalers,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
people, it's like right now I get sent about 25 properties like a day. right? From
Wow.
everybody. Oh yeah, every wholesaler out here in Denver is like sending stuff to me. And like no disrespect to them and like not hating on them because everybody has to do their part.
Yeah.
And it is a valuable thing. Like it's tough to get those properties under contract. So there is
Yeah.
skill with it that I respect, but they're like I have the logic of, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I really do have the logic of if you're waiting for a wholesaler to bring you a good property, you're almost sitting there waiting for a guy to bring you 100 grand.
Mm,
If I sit on the couch and wait for somebody to be like, hey man, here you go,
yeah.
because I can do the lending, the flipping, like, right? There is that amount of risk, but like I know that part.
Yeah.
And like that's exactly what's coming about. Every property is not working. And
Yeah.
it's the truth is like a lot of those wholesalers, they'd flip it themselves if it was an actual good property. They're trying to sell you something that ain't working. And now it's like you have to figure it out. So now that's why I created that team. Now that's why I'm trying to create teams that can go out and try to find these properties ourselves because I just know that if I sit around, no one's gonna make this
Yeah.
happen for me. It's like every single aspect has to be from me. I have to
Yeah.
do something.
That's cool, man. I, I really like how you talked about you didn't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You didn't really know exactly how you were going to make it work, but you knew you were going to make it work. And you had so much conviction with it that you got that guy to
Yeah.
believe in it yourself. And that's a talent to have as a business owner. Like to be able to have that level of conviction um is important. You
Yeah.
know, I think if you're going to make it, you really, really got to believe in yourself and you'll figure out the rest later. Like I think about that with myself all the time. Like sometimes I don't know how I'm gonna make it work. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, or
Yeah.
I've got a lot of expectations from other people of myself, and um, but I know that I'm gonna make it work. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna make it work. So I think that's cool, man. I want to ask you this because you've done quite a bit of flips at this
Yeah.
point. Somebody getting started in real estate, like what would your be advice to somebody that wants to flip their first house?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like the right way to put it out there
Yeah,
just because I meet a lot of people that are getting into it.
yeah,
And a lot of people, I'd say so I'm not a big believer of like courses. Like one
yeah,
thing I want to like, it's like I think it's almost like you have to dive into it head on, but in the most prepared way that you can.
mm,
And that is what worked for me. Cause I meet people, it's like I tell them there's no PowerPoint in this world
yeah,
that's gonna teach you how to flip. Like you gotta get the knowledge of it. But it's almost like there's just so many different factors to real estate investing. That's why I think it's one of the hardest things, but one of the best paying things
yeah,
because I don't think people realize that like as a real estate investor, you have to be so good at multiple different stuff.
mm,
Like I realize that you can't just have construction mastered. You can't just have like I know how to run comps and I know good ARVs. You have to have each one down. So I think that if I was to tell anybody, one, I mean, if somebody wanted to get into it, I think they should kind of surround themselves around somebody that has had success in
mm,
flipping. Kind of go look at those flips, go check out, try to just prepare yourself as you can, as good as you can. Partnerships make people feel a lot more comfortable, when you're in the game with somebody, if you can partner up with maybe somebody who has done a couple flips, because I don't know, the rest is kind of like lending.
yeah,
Like you can kind of figure that part out. I could tell anybody like, hey, like I can help you get the lending for that property. The construction is a part where a lot of people mess up. Like I'm sure you've heard a lot of people get personally tied to the property, which that's like something that you think wouldn't happen to you. It does happen to you.
yeah,
Like that you think like I have to make this super nice and I'm gonna make it just stick to the numbers, just
mm,
stick to what works. And but it's just so many variables are gonna hit you at once. Like so many different factors are just gonna hit you at once that I feel like doing it solo is like really, really scary. Like I had the guidance of like, yeah, my best friend had the lending, but he also had already so much knowledge of real estate. So I don't know. I think if I was to tell somebody like if they just wanted to like I want to get a flip and I want to do it, I just don't know where they could start. That's the part that I'm trying to figure out on how to
yeah,
like lay this out to people because where you have to start is already so difficult.
mm.
like the property is what matters.
Yeah.
Like so if you I ran a class where like 20 people came. It was
Cool.
super cool to like get people into flipping and stuff like that. And I offered an opportunity that I don't think any real estate investor would ever offer.
Yeah.
I was basically, I'll put this out there. I was offering people that like if they bring a deal forward, like, hey, I'll get the lending, and instead of giving you a finder's fee or something like that, like, right, you could take this 10 grand and then get nothing from it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll bring you on the flip and I'll
Mm.
teach you the construction. I have the crews, I have the lending, I have everything. That's just how much value a good property
Yeah.
has. I sent them all out, and now one property came from that,
Wow.
right? Because now that's what I'm trying to dive deeper into because
Yeah.
I'm like, I did just tell them, hey, go find a property. And like, yeah, like, okay, like I told them the different ways to do it that I'm sure every hustler knows of. You can do cold calling, door knocking,
Yeah.
go talk to them. But like, it's kind of just a tough game. So it's like, that's already the beginning.
Yeah.
And like, that's a beginning of real estate investing. So it's like, how do we, yeah, how
Yeah.
do you get a good beginner to get into it? You know what I mean?
It sounds like the most important part and maybe even the hardest part is finding a good deal. Because
Yeah,
it sounds like if you could find a good deal, you could find other people that'll, if you find a
exactly.
good deal, you can find the money for it. Somebody's going to want to lend on the property. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure, yeah, like if you found somebody that had a good enough deal, you might be able to lend on it, or you could find somebody that could lend on that. And
exactly.
you can find the different people, but it sounds like finding that first deal
Exactly.
is probably the hardest.
Yeah, and that's what people, that's kind of like how wholesalers, they kind of like a lot of beginning investors, they go through wholesalers,
Yeah.
And like the thing is like a lot of the beginning investors I've met, their first deal, um, it either goes great or goes bad, right? Like there's like really like the way they describe it to me, there's no in between. But a lot of them grab it from a wholesaler, right? Because that's the best, easiest way to grab it. Like, because they're trying to sell it to you, right at the jump. I don't know if a lot of them, it's funny because the only successful flippers that began that I know were kind of wholesalers
Mm,
already. So see, that's what I mean. Like the guy with no experience, just like me, you're buying it from a wholesaler, right? You already don't know the ARV.
mm,
You're trusting other people that like, let's say you call your real estate friend and then like you're like, hey, can you run comps on this and tell me if this ARV is good, and I'll let you list a property.
yeah,
Right then and there, you just gave them a reason to want to sell that property, and then they're gonna tell you, oh, that's close, that's right around there, because all this risk is gonna land on you. So people are just gonna like, kind of steer you towards it, even if they genuinely believe like, hey, that actually could work, and then you get into it and you're like, what am I doing?
yeah.
Like, one big thing I tell people is like, I don't even know how, like, when a wholesaler sends a property, here's like an example. They send you the purchase price, they send you their ARV that they have for it, right? And they send you a rehab. Most wholesalers haven't flipped a property.
Mm,
So I'm like, how did you get that number
mm,
of rehab, right? It's
yeah,
just out of like, oh, I think it'd be 70,000. I
yeah.
tell you right now, it's tough right now, right, in this market to not flip a property and bring it to value for less than 100,000.
And I know this,
Yeah.
but just so our listener knows, well, like, what is a wholesaler?
Yeah, so like a wholesaler is somebody that like a lot of people get into wholesaling real estate because you don't need any capital to get into it. You
Yeah.
can come into it straight into the game, and if you do well in it, it pays really well. So what they do is they go and talk to a homeowner or get a property, right? And they get it under contract. You don't need any money to get a property under contract. And what they do is that they kind of offer, like, let's say this homeowner, they'll be like, hey, how much do you want for this house, Betty, or whatever, right?
Mm,
And then she's like, I want 250. And they call every investor that they know, right?
mm,
And a lot of wholesalers are gonna hate me for this, but
yeah,
it's because I have the genuine best interest in the people, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
just like my team, it is that like, then they're like, but that takes a lot of work to
mm,
find that person,
yeah,
to get them to trust you,
yeah,
to get them to like that you can get them the number they want. So this is the part where I'm against it. Right? So like
okay,
this is the part where it all lines up. I think wholesaling is very valuable. So it's like, yeah, that takes a lot of work. It's like, okay, you want 250? I think I can get you 250. Then they call every investor that you can think of. They call me, they call every other person, send it out at once and say, hey, I got this great investment property for 280,
okay,
right? And then they like are like, if you put 50K into this, it'll sell for sure for 400,
yeah,
right? And that's basically what wholesalers do. Then you take that contract. You're the one who's actually purchasing, and just because they had it under
So they
contract,
make the gap.
they make
So
that gap.
they get it under
Exactly.
contract for 250. They sling the contract to you for 280.
80.
They make 30. You do all the work. You got to renovate
Yeah.
it. You got to
Risk it.
actually sell it.
And to be honest with you, when I first started, there was room for that.
Mm.
There was like room, like I like made, I had one where I didn't know this, but the wholesaler made like 60,000 off of it. Like that was like kids. But see, the fee doesn't matter to me. If
Yeah.
you're gonna go make 100,000, 60,000, whatever, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is to be a good wholesaler,
Yeah.
you almost have to be a experienced agent and an experienced investor,
Mm.
which the very successful wholesalers that I know, they are
They
that.
know both.
They
Yeah.
know both. 90% of wholesalers don't
Yeah.
they aren't that. You know what I mean? They are like they went straight into it and it's kind of working. So
Mm.
it's something to be very like cautious of is that's the thing that I have. That's the part where I'm like, right out the jump when they're negotiating that, right? Let's say the house is 2 bedroom, they're like, I can get you 250. If they were an experienced agent and experienced wholesaler, they already know that like that's too high right there.
Yeah.
They just want to grab it like, no, like you should have tried to get that for 180
Mm.
because that's actually where that should be purchased at. That's where I would be all for it because then if they try to get it to me, then it's like 210.
Mm.
Like that's what it's actually worth it at. But then yeah, so it's kind of like now that's why I'm trying to build a team and kind of build it all kind of more internal because now I know that like when I look at a property, I can tell them like off of the 30 flips I've done, I could tell you this. You can't flip this for any less than like 100. You can't flip this for less than 85.
Yeah.
So now that's kind of the realm I'm trying to go into. So it's tough. It's just such a tough game because
Yeah.
there's so many different stuff to it, you
Yeah.
know?
I think the biggest hesitation I hear with people to get into real estate is I don't have the money.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say to the person that makes that excuse that says, I want to get into real estate, I want to do something, but I just don't have the money for it.
Oh, that's like the last thing you should worry about. Like
Yeah.
the real like it's kind of funny because that's like another thing that I understand. Like I described that to you. Like those people that like the cop role, how I told you about that. I like did had no comprehension of like, you know, of what's out there. And I don't think people know it's like as an example is I tell people that money is kind of out there and like, it's like people will just the access to money is out there. Like that's kind of like one of the, as you get deeper and deeper and deeper, like right now, right? Like this sounds like a lot, and that's what I mean. People focus on like, oh, I need the money to make more money. That kind of is true, right? Because how are you gonna flip a property without either lending or that you have money, right?
Mm.
As an example, is I'll tell you when I got into the game, my financing was at 100%.
Mm.
And I know that if a property is good enough, people will do that for you. If
Yeah.
the property is solid enough where it's like people will lend you. So that means you can literally get into now becoming a real estate investor at $0.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
somebody pays for everything. So
pays
they
for
pay for
everything.
the purchase price, the transaction fees, they pay for the renovation, the labor, the
Exactly.
material.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just takes, so now it's like really knowledge. Knowledge is power. It really is. And it's just like, I just think we talked about ourselves and like believing in yourself. It's just like you have to just go and soak everything in and then you'll realize like yeah, the money like somebody will give you that money. Somebody like construction as an example, I came into it like I know how to paint and hang up a cabinet and I had to like we had to do new electrical, new plumbing right at the jump and it got done. It
Yeah.
got done. The money was there. It's just really like my situation did start off a little different. That's why now I'm dealing with that in the back end, right? If I would have came into this game, that's why I tell people it's like the time to make it happen, the time the work that it takes, the time that business is going to take to actually be successful, that never changes. Even for me, who got who I didn't have to go look for my first three flips. They were already ready right there. Okay, great. That started off like that, right? That problem now came like this last year, right? It's like, okay, now I have to, the year before, it's like I have to now figure out how I'm going to find property. So that's like, I went to go build relationship and how I got to the wholesaler comment stuff. There's some out there that genuinely want to build a relationship with a beginner because, or a seasoned investor because they know like this person's going to keep buying.
Yeah.
So that's like what to focus on. But you have to like, kind of like study this game, kind of like I just wish that's why I want to create a system that can bring people genuinely into it.
Mm.
There's seminars out there. But I tell you, and then there's courses. I tell people to
Stay away from it.
stay away from courses. I
Yeah.
kid you not, a YouTube video will tell you the same
Yeah.
that this $10,000 thing. Back, I kind of chilled off the partying, but I used to say a joke all the time that if you bought me a drink at a bar, I would tell you what a $25,000 course of real estate investing would tell you.
Yeah.
Especially with how much I can't shut up, I'd probably just sit there and
Yeah.
tell you every secret and
Yeah.
everything into it. It's just really like, are you gonna do it? Are
Yeah.
you? That's really what it is.
Yeah, you can give everybody all the tools. You can tell them everything, but are they actually going to go do it?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you almost just you have to just do it. You're going to
Exactly.
figure it out. You're probably going to make a mistake here and there. If you find the right deal though, that mistake's probably not going to be detrimental.
Yeah.
You'll pivot, you may lose a little bit of profit on the project, but you'll figure it out and you just have to do. And I think too many people don't get into business because they think like, oh, I'll get into business when I have it all figured out, or I'll get into business when, you know, I don't know how many times I've told or people have told me like, oh yeah, I'm still setting up my LLC.
Yeah.
Man, your LLC takes 5 minutes. I
Yeah, and
mean,
like
it
what is
doesn't
it, like
take
a $50 fee and then you're
yeah, it does
done?
not take that long. But it just people think they need to have it all figured out and really, truly just do it.
Yeah.
Just start your business. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna make mistakes. It's all inevitable. Um, but you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's exactly it. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I know I know the vision. I know like what you're trying to accomplish, but what's your why behind all of it? Like to be able to kind of change up your lifestyle. You went from making a lot of money and just having fun and all of that. You to switch into what you're doing now, a very disciplined individual that wakes up and takes their health seriously, takes their relationship with God seriously. I feel like you got to have a pretty strong why. So like what's your purpose behind what you do?
Yeah. I mean, there's just, there's like that big, like the first one is, I have the pressure of like, like everything from younger, like, how I had a daughter at 17,
Yeah.
and like I tell you, I like, that's my biggest why.
Yeah.
That's really it. I mean, that's like what snapped me out of like, um, kind of like I can take my own route. I was still chasing that hooping dream, but I know like, okay, there's no league at
Yeah.
5'8" or whatever. Okay, I'm 5'10" actually,
Yeah.
but still, it's
Yeah.
like there's nothing there. And it was like I really want to chase this for her, and I really wanted to be. I tell you, I had that fire in me since like little. Like I just like since I can remember, like since I was working at Dairy Queen, I like just had this like, oh man, I want to do this, I want to do that. But now it's just more guided towards a different way where I like didn't realize it, but I got to experience what I was dreaming of
Mm,
back then as a kid, right? And there was emptiness there.
mm,
Like it was like that, okay, like the vacations, like, the basic stuff that social media kind of pushes out there, like trying to go after girls, trying to go after money, trying to go after like a nice car. And then it just like I told you, what came out of it was the drinking and eating. And somehow social media portrays it like
yeah.
somehow you can drink and go out a bunch and somehow you're getting a six pack through that. No, that
It
is not
doesn't
true.
work.
Like,
Yeah.
trust me, I know that. And it's like now I like want to build it like where, there is that like stuff that everybody says that is very motivational. It's like that, like, I want to set up my family. I do care about that and stuff. But the big thing I want to do is I really do feel like there is a reason I made so many mistakes that are
Mm,
unrecoverable. Like people would not go through that. You cannot stay in this game with the mistakes I made. And there's a reason that I was able to make it through that. And I really do think that it is this like to try to guide people towards like I'm very passionate naturally about
mm,
like I love young entrepreneurship. Like that's why I love that you're doing this. I
yeah.
like admire this. I thought this was so cool when I saw that
I
you were doing
appreciate
it.
that. Yeah.
And like I really want to like snap people out of like give them the right delusion. Like have that delusion, believing yourself to the craziest extent. But don't have the delusion that you're already great. Don't have the delusion that you can lie to yourself. Like if I'm not in shape, which like I'm not at the shape I want to be, I can't tell myself otherwise.
Mm,
I don't have that skill to like lie to myself to
yeah.
that extent. Reality will kick in for me. I really do have to see it working. And like I just see it working. It's kind of like that balance of that. But I just that's what I want to get to. My big why is like I want to be that leader in my family and then take that to that bigger scale of
Mm,
where like I can lead people the right way. I want to build young, successful entrepreneurs that can, go towards the way of like, doing it the right way, not to do those mistakes with that money, to be then for them to become leaders. Like, on the God sense, I like said, I don't know, I haven't heard this before, so I don't know if somebody else said it before me, but I was always like, why would I take all these blessings from God and spend it on sin?
mm,
And it really is that, like, I just want to now you just use it for good.
mm,
And that's like my big overall why, I guess. I just want to make all that happen and make it
mm.
reality. I want to take these things that are in my head and like build it. Like, I want to physically feel it,
Yeah,
see it. So,
I
yeah.
love that. Why would I take all these blessings from God and use it on sin? I love that. Um, what's next? Like, what's next for Uprise? I know you've talked about building a team.
Yeah.
Is that is that something you're going to be focusing on heavily this next year?
It is. It's actually already like in the work, to be honest. And it's like that's the biggest next thing I want to do. It's like I want to we're gonna attack it from like all the realms of like social media. I'm like really ready to take it out there. I've been trying to post like a bunch of funny videos and stuff, but now it's like I tell you, just chasing it. This last year, the resources all came together.
Mm,
And now it's like all it has to do. It's like the trigger's already been pulled. There's people already joining the team, and the biggest thing is like I genuinely believe that like that we're gonna create one of the biggest kind of teams
cool.
that's focused on a lot of people that get into real estate, they want to get into real estate investing eventually.
Yeah.
I saw this teams like they do like 7 year goals and stuff like that. And it was funny because most agents in there, their 7 year goal was to become a real estate investor, whether it's to buy and hold or to fix and
Yeah.
flip. And like I don't think people realize is like you could do 7 years of transactions and that did not. You might have a good understanding of real estate, and that could help you out a bit, but you kind of that pivots a lot different. So mine is to take these newer people getting into real estate or even experienced people and then just shift it right to that 7 year plan where you can already be doing that like in a year or two versus like yeah, and like people realizing like we have the funds to lend the property, we have everything kind of set up. So that's the big vision, is to create that group. But the bigger part of it is like I want to really like the people that have joined the team so far. Like I know like you know one of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I tell you, the biggest thing that I loved about them is that they are all talented people already,
Mm,
but they are people that came into it just soaking it up. Like
mm.
like, and I've had to reject people already from the team.
Wow.
I'm not just taking everybody.
It has
Like
to be the right fit.
it has to be the right fit. It has to be because I just don't want to. And it's not that like anybody can come into it, and like it's not like I'm like, oh, you're not good enough or nothing like that. It's just that I want it to be like the last thing I'll kind of throw in here about, because you know how I told you I relate everything to my experience in the police world to this,
Yeah.
because that's like the experience I had coming into this. I tell you, I was like super nervous when I came into it. Like I was almost so nervous that I was like, can I like I like don't know anything. Am I smart enough to do this? But I was like confident, and that worked like crazy.
Mm,
It's like I was confident enough that I can be good, but I was nervous enough that whatever somebody was telling me, I was like soaking it in. And then
mm.
I started analyzing like this cop talks phenomenally. I want to be like him. That cop knows how to fight. I want to fight like him.
Mm,
He looks amazing in the uniform. I want to look like that. And
yeah.
then that's kind of like how I think that success in this game will work. And now it's getting really shifted. It's kind of tough to find it because now people with confidence or people with like some knowledge, it's like, I go to these things and it's like instead people want to prove to me like what they're great at, what they're good at. It's like there's not like they're not really even soaking in anything. It's already competition from the start, or already they're kind of approaching it different. And I tell you, like, even like, and that's what I mean. That's the people that didn't succeed as a police officer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have people graduate the academy and they were already the best cop in the world. And like, they approached that way and didn't soak anything in.
Mm,
And like, that just does not work.
yeah.
There's like always, like, I still have to soak in everything
Yeah.
now. And I can't imagine when that's going to stop. So if people don't have that from the start, it's kind of tough. Yeah, like if
Yeah.
they've already learned wholesaling, if they've already learned, or if they're already a real estate agent, they're already come into this and be like, I know investing, I don't need that. Then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Then they're not a
Yeah.
fit for this. So
My one of my mentors, a sales manager I had in the past, his saying was always, it's okay to be a copycat. You just got to copy the right cat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, man, it's important to have people around you that you can learn from, that you can take things from, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you really just have to find those people that are already doing it and take pieces, and everybody works differently. Like
yeah,
those people on your team, they may do things differently than you do.
yeah,
They got to find what works from them, but there's certain things that they can learn from you, that they can take, and then they'll have to learn from somebody else and take a little bit of that and piece their selves together, kind of like you did.
yeah,
You took this from that cop, and you took this from that cop, and you wanted to be like these people, but you still had to make it your own.
yeah,
You
exactly.
didn't just copy paste the entire thing. You're like, hey, I really like that this guy does this. I'm gonna take that. I really like that this
Yeah,
guy does this. I'm gonna learn from that. So
yeah,
I think that's cool, man. I First and foremost, man, you're an incredible person to learn from, just from the discipline to the mindset shifts that you've had in your business, and really just focusing on personal development, more than anything. It sounds like that's really taken you to the next level. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see this team that you grow this next year. And I love your purpose. I love your vision. I love your why. I always like to end the podcast with this, though. If you could go back 10 years and talk to your 18-year-old self and give one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be?
to stop thinking and just do it. That's, like, the biggest I can think of. I mean, like, those mistakes were gonna happen no matter how old I was, and, like, it's funny because I think a big thing with, like, the CEOs, of, like, being under 30 and stuff, it's like people admire, like, a lot. It's I think like, the big part that can be admired is, like, y that had to get going young, It's like you have to get it. J Those mistakes were gonna happen. I kid you not, if I would've started at 30 and then I would have done my first flip and the same success would have came from it, then I would have just messed up at 32. It's not like an age thing at all. It's like I really do think it's like when that time hits you. And it's like for some people, I don't know how they can ever shift from that because like I can you'll see the damage that it does. The mistakes it's funny, one of my family members told me if those mistakes didn't cost a lot of money, you wouldn't really learn from them. Those mistakes are going to happen no matter what. The timeline is going to stay the same. The time to become great at it is not going to change. And there's a false perspective out there I think getting built, and that's just my personal belief that it just takes time to be successful.
Yeah.
It takes mistakes to be successful. It takes experience to be successful, and that will never change. It's just, yeah. So, the just I can do all the thinking I can. I used to tell the people in the police world too. I used to tell them there's not a book in this world that's going to teach you how to talk.
Mm,
There's like, yeah, you can gain knowledge from it, but that's just gonna hit. You're gonna learn how to talk just from talking to people. You're gonna learn how to flip from going out there and flipping. You're gonna learn how to do anything from just going out there and doing it. And I think a lot of people that have that mentality and that hunger, they have a lot of the personal stuff that we have. Like I think you and me, like, if we really got to know each other like personally, I bet you a lot of the deeper stuff that I deal with, you deal with
yeah.
too. And you could die there. Like you could like die in that
Mhm.
mind. So it's really that if I could go back, it's just like, bro, stop thinking. Yeah, I could think myself out of anything and I can think myself into anything. So I'm just gonna go out there and do it. And yeah, that's really it. And like that's the biggest advice that I would give to
That's
myself.
good advice, man.
Yeah.
Well, Oscar, I appreciate you coming on
No,
the
man.
podcast,
Thank you
man. It's
so
been a
much, man.
blessing.
You're awesome
And
too, man. Thank you so much.
yeah,